You can't talk to the Motor City Madman and not talk a little bit about music and culture today. Let's start with this, man. I mean, my parents, there are a few areas of culture where your parents get to say, and a lot of people, and I'm in my late 30s. I think a lot of folks who are around my age would agree. Your parents get to say, our music was just better than yours, and at least when they're talking about rock and roll. I really know very few people. Let's put aside, hip hop and techno and all this other stuff. When they're talking about rock and roll, I feel like there's really not much of an argument. So the first question I have for you before I get to ask, if you could play in any band, and we're going to get into some of that fun stuff. What happened to rock and roll, Ted? Where is it?
There's a number of dynamics at play. First of all, the more spoiled we get, and this horrible condition we're in right now where people are scrambling for basic survival. And again, that's just I say lunatic fringe, but it's a lunatic segment. And they are learning some lessons. And I love the lunatic segment, but they do have to learn to be prepared and be more responsible. But as goes the softening and the dependency in our culture, you got these spoiled brats that never built a highway. They never built a home. They wouldn't know which end of a hammer to grab. They've never done anything independently except squawk and whine like a bunch of crybabies. And remember Buck, I'm going to blow your mind, which I'm really good at. So why did Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley and Little Richard take what Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters and Mose Allison and Lightnin' Hopkins, those black authoritarians of the most vicious heartbreak in the history of the human experience, slavery? Why were they so emotional? Because they were enslaved. They were controlled by other men. Just think of this, the savagery of that heartbreak, the spiritual shackle that went with the metal shackles, and then Emancipation Proclamation, and they threw them off, and instead of the heartbreak and the torment of the blues and the gospel dreaming of freedom, now they had it, and Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley and Little Richard went, it sounds like this, and they went nuts with grinding rhythms and sexuality and declaring their independence musically. And it so touched the inner soul of people who were already free that these guys were celebrated with such authority, such defiance, that it touched the defiant soul, which we are defiant souls, Concord Bridge, Boston Tea Party, Lansing protest, et cetera, et cetera. And so what Chuck Berry and Bo Diddley and Little Richard and Jerry Lee Lewis, and I'll let you tell him he's not black, with those rhythm and blues creators of this loud, abrasive, guitar-dominating, I mean, my God, it was just an orgy of emotional outrage. And that was from that era where they unleashed it originally. And then over time, people got softer. People didn't have to work for a living. They squawked if they didn't get, health care. They didn't care about their health, but they want someone else to pay for their health care. Dirtbags. Anyhow, so there was a defiant era that doesn't exist anymore. Now what are they squawking about? You got guys that owe hundreds of thousands of dollars for student loans, and they're drinking $6 cups of coffee, but they're in debt. It doesn't make any sense. So that's what happened to rock and roll. If you lose your balls and if you lose your spirit, you'll start playing this nonsense that's all Saturday morning cartoon pablum.
Hey, Team Buck, thank you so much for watching The First on YouTube. If you like this video, please click that little thumbs up button so then it will log as liked. And also, if you want to see more great content from The First, please click subscribe.